Okay, so this is chapter 12 in Campbell Biology, I don't know, 10th edition, 11th edition, somewhere like that. We're going to talk about cell cycle. So cell cycle is what we're going to look at here are chromosomes. We're going to look at cell division, cell replication, and we're going to look at specifically mitosis and the changes that happen with it. We'll even talk a little bit about cancer and what it is at the end of this chapter. So the image you're looking at is from the text. It's figure 12.1, but it's showing how chromosomes change during cell division, from their unorganized chromatin phase all the way through condensation when they're chromosomes and chromatid, and then as they separate out into two identical nuclei, so from 1 to 2 nuclei. Cell division, we've got some more formal definitions, but when we talk about cell division, we're talking about cell reproduction. So how those cells reproduce, or cell division is the reproduction of cells if you prefer. And why do we do this? Why do we need cell division? Well, we need cell division for just development. We start with you and I start out as a single-celled a single cell, and through cell division or mitosis, we're going to end up being a multicellular organism. Even after that occurs, we go through growth. So none of us looks the same as we did at birth, or even at 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 15. So growth and then repair. Just imagine if you never had cell repair. Think about if you've ever been cut, if you've ever needed stitches, or if you've ever broken a bone. Without repair and cell mitosis, you would forever have a broken bone. So those are our big three needs in multicellular organisms for cell division. In unicellular organisms, like the prokaryotes, like some of the prokaryotes, like bacteria, division of one cell produces an entirely new organism. So they use this cell division, it's not really mitosis, but a process similar to mitosis, or I guess not even similar to, along the same lines, is how they reproduce. Okay? So cell cycle is not the same as cell division. Separate those terms out in your heads right now. Don't let those be the same. So cell cycle is the life cycle of a cell. Cell division is when it replicates. So we need to talk about two different types of cell division. One is mitosis and the other is meiosis, or meiosis if you prefer. In mitosis, with a T, mitosis, we develop two genetically identical daughter cells. Okay, so the genes replicate and we get a daughter cell that is genetically identical to, or two daughter cells that are genetically identical to the parent. Daughter does not indicate gender here. It just indicates the next generation of cells. The other type of cell division that we need to talk about is meiosis or meiosis. And that's when we produce non-identical daughter cells. When we're going to produce cells that are genetically different from the original. This is how we develop sperm and egg. If you can hear the squeaking in the background, that's the garbage truck, so sorry about that. I am sitting poolside while the kids play in the spa. Alright, so on your whiteboards, tell me the difference between cell division and cell cycle. I'm going to pause for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, I don't know. I'm going to pause and then I'll move on. Okay, so cellular organization of genetic material. All the DNA in a cell constitutes that cell's genome. So all the DNA is genome. There's a great vocab word for you. Genome can be a single DNA molecule, like in the prokaryotes, or it can be several DNA molecules, like chromosomes in eukaryotic cells. DNA, when they're in a cell, are packaged into chromosomes. So when we're talking about eukaryotes, not in prokaryotes. Prokaryotes have a different name. But in eukaryotes, if they're in a nucleus and they're they're packaged tightly, we call them chromosomes. Okay, so we need to differentiate by two cell types in multicellular organisms and in eukaryotes. We need to differentiate between somatic cells and gametes. Somatic cells are body cells. Soma means body. So somatic cells are body cells. Those are any of the cells that your skin, your liver, your muscle, your bone, your heart, any of those tissue type cells, okay? Each of those cells has two copies of chromosomes. So they have two sets of chromosomes, one from mom and one from dad. And all of those cells, all somatic cells, are going to have the same information in them. Not all cells are going to use everything on their DNA, but they're all going to have that DNA available. Gametes are different. Gametes are reproductive cells. They're going to be the egg and the sperm. They have half as many chromosomes as the somatic cells. So if we have 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes in a somatic cell, which is what we have, then in a gamete we're going to have half of that. We're only going to have 23 chromosomes. So be careful with your pairs and your number of chromosomes. Make sure you read questions carefully. When chromosomes back that up. So in eukaryotes, when we talk about chromosomes, we need to talk about chromatin, that's the DNA portion, and then the protein part, which is the part that the DNA wraps around. So we need both of those parts make up a chromosome. So a chromosome is not just DNA, it's DNA plus protein, and we talk about that DNA in the form of chromatin, and then when it wraps tightly around the proteins, we're going to call it either chromatid or chromosome. Lost my clicker here. Alright, so we're going to pause right there and I'll load this video and then I'll come back and do the next one.